Welcome to the Other 98% podcast, a podcast series to shine a light on the arm wrestling community as a whole. From the new pullers to the pros and veterans, everyone is, will be, or has been a part of the Other 98% at some point in their arm wrestling career. No matter where you are in your journey, join the Other 98% community. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe if you want to see more. Welcome to the Other 98% podcast with my co-hosts Josh Vinikoor and Chuck Bardo. And tonight we're interviewing Dan Bound. How you doing, Dan?
Not too bad. Just getting back from the snowstorm from a practice out with Ryan Ross and Team Punishment.
Nice.
So Dan, just for the audience at home, we're gonna get some stats on you real quick. So, what's your age?
I am 30 years old, 31 in July.
31 July. Where are you from?
Originally from Minersville, Pennsylvania.
All right. And where do you live now?
Currently, I'm in Pottsville, but I bounced around a little bit. I was in Allentown for a little bit, which is where I started arm wrestling. But right now, I'm back in Pottsville. Bought a house. It's where I work.
Awesome. And now your experience in the sport? How long have you been in the sport?
Up around 2.5 years, to be approximately 3 years coming up in June.
Awesome. And what is your weight class currently?
240 and up. I spent most of my time around 250, 260 since I've started the sport. I'm trying to kind of wean my way back down to about the 235 area to start competing pro in the maybe a little bit lighter class.
Cool. Yeah, that's a good goal. Something that we're going to kind of get into for a new segment is a little two truths and a lie. Now, for anybody that doesn't know, it's really simple. You just come up with two things that are true about you and one lie, and the three of us are going to try to guess the lie. So what do you got for us?
All right. I speak 3 different languages. I have never been arrested. And I was a member of the Army Infantry.
Okay. All right, Ryan, you go first. What do you think?
Oh, thanks. I'm going to say the lie is that you speak 3 languages.
All right.
I'm going to, Chuck?
I'm going to have to agree with Ryan on that. I don't think he speaks 3 languages.
He doesn't even speak English well.
Well, see, I actually do speak 3 languages fluently: English, sarcasm, and profanity. All 3 fluently. But I'm going to also go with the 3 languages, unless you count what I just said.
Here's the logic behind my answer.
Yeah, maybe
I
should have said
believe
2.
that he was in the military, and because of the job he has, he probably hasn't been arrested.
That's where you also know that, I have to have a background check. So
Exactly.
What's your job? Tell us about that.
I work under Homeland Security. I work federal armed security, which is like federal buildings, which could be courthouses, all the way to people do like the White House. Not exactly my department, but that's the same general clearance you have to do something like that. Currently, I'm at federal buildings like Social Security offices, IRSs, stuff like that.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, you definitely need a background check for that.
So I probably cheated a little by knowing that.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, I didn't know that at all. So, but I was just from the crowd.
That was the part that a lot of people who are 30 years old have been arrested at least once. So
Yeah,
I thought maybe
I'm one of them.
I've never been arrested.
So we're going to go right into some questions.
Sure.
What got you into the sport?
Chuck Ryder, in shorts. I lived with him. I worked at a strip club as a dancer, now as security. He was my manager, and I actually lived with him for 2 years, and we arm wrestled on a bar after work because just why not?
Yeah.
And he crushed me, and he I don't know, he saw a flyer, I think, on Facebook. He saw a local tournament. He went out there. It was Toys for Tots. I'm sure Chuck Bardo, you might know, like what they do. I believe it's in New York. He went out there and won the amateur tournament. And from there on, he started getting some practices, which were actually at our garage where we lived. So I just kind of floated out there one day and saw what it was about. And, a couple weeks in, started realizing it's actually pretty fun. And from there, took about 6 months practice, and I started to compete myself.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So yeah, like you've been training a lot. I've been saying. I mean, right now, like, what do you consider like your strength and your weakness in like your game right now?
Strength would be more of a hook. The angle, like more of I would say down pressure supination. That's definitely where I try to go. Definitely weakness. I'm talking top roll, back, not so much back. I mean, sorry, up pressure, like more like wrist stability. So that's
So
definitely something I'm working on big time, like my rising.
so your riser is what you think you're lacking right now, but you
Yes, I
have
do.
good down pressure. You have good,
Right. If I can initiate it and get in a match, right off that quick go, that's where I get caught.
So do you have issues like initiating a top roll, or do you have like, or just defending against someone top rolling you?
More so defense, like initiate, like the more so like the how fast someone else is as compared to me. I'm not a fast guy.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, slowness is tough, but there's a lot of slow good pullers out there. So
You just gotta get really, really strong so you can make up for not being fast.
or learn how to catch.
Right.
Yeah.
So you recently had some matches with Brian Walker and Zach Lee. What was
Yes.
what was your takeaway from those two matches?
That you definitely can't look at somebody and just assume what they're capable of. Walker is definitely strong. Obviously, he beat me quite a few times, but nowhere in the level of Zach Lee. He's,
That's crazy.
whether it's or whatever he does, I put him 2 levels above me and Walker. I wasn't close to even that match. There's no way. And Brian and I are both 60, 70 pounds heavier than him.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Now, to put context on that, I mean, the size of Brian Walker's freaking arms. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you look at that, you're like, okay, you don't want to go inside with that guy.
Right?
Yeah.
And match, I actually talked to Chuck Bardo about this earlier. I chose to pick that match where he wanted it because I wanted to go in a hook and be like, all right, I want to know how strong I am and how's my hook, So
Yeah.
that was the guy I kind of picked. Like, he has the same style as me, so that's kind of why I went in that direction because that was going to be a pretty. You could definitely look and know where that match is going. There wasn't much guess game, so Zach,
Yeah.
Zach, not even that. A week later, call in was like, "Yeah, if I knew you were gonna take that match, I would have told you, fuck no, I'm like, don't take that." But he's like, "It's too late. You just gotta go through with it, and take your medicine."
Yeah.
What did you
That's
feel
cool.
like Zach did to you that was just so like, looking back on it, like where was your like, oh crap, like I can't win this?
When he took my soul.
Like,
When he set up so high and so just up. Like his hand was just so straight up. It forced mine underneath his. He closed his hand, and I knew it was just me hanging on. Right off the setup, right off as soon as they tighten that strap, whatever he does, I'd like to learn from him. But yeah, it's all in the setup. Soon as he put his hand up and they tightened that strap a little bit, that was it. I wasn't even in the match. I wasn't connected, and I know that's experience on his part. More than anything.
yeah, wow. That's a tough one when you already know before it starts you had no shot and it's just going down.
I was just, trying. He was very, very generous. He even said after that first match, he's like, "Hey, well, I'll go inside. We'll go in the hook," and he let me get to my spot without completely taking away my power, just to be, a gentleman and be in the match with me. So I appreciate he didn't just make it 3-0 like as fast as possible. So he made it a little more interesting, but definitely I wasn't in that match if he didn't want me to be.
That's pretty cool. Now, I mean, kind of leading into like the next thing I want to ask you is really about your training. Now, I saw you got one of those new tabletop setups, right?
Yeah.
What are you doing? I mean, with your training, like, where's that going? Where are you progressing with that?
Well, I can say the day after Zach beat me, it kind of made me realize a lot. I went out and bought a whiteboard, dry erase board from Walmart. I ordered that cable pulley for my steel tabletop, and I started writing out different lifts, try to get a little bit of a gauge on where I'm at. I went and got a sledgehammer, worked more my riser, 'cause I know that's where I'm weak. And I just started doing, each day has its own purpose, say Mondays up pressure supination, Tuesdays down pressure, up pressure and pronation. The next day will be like down pressure supination, one day side pressure, and I'll just flip flop it like everything's twice a week or more. But I started to get more regimented because I've done bodybuilding, I've done powerlifting, so I'm treating it more like that, like a sport. Like I used to treat it like it's something I do for fun, but if you want to get serious, you can't just go to practice once a week and hit a couple wrist curls in the gym and expect to really be that competitive. At least not when you go up amateurs.
Unless you're RVJ.
Yeah.
That's
There's you guys out there that just kind of get off the couch and compete, but they're already athletes to begin with. So I mean, I just look at it more as I'm definitely more organized, and I've tested myself more. I do a lot more heavier statics. I never did them because it's a 1 rep max lifts. I always treated it like it was for building strength, which it is, but 10, 12 reps isn't what you're doing on the table. It's 1 rep, and you have to treat it like it.
Yeah.
for those that don't know, what is the product that you're using? Kind of give a little plug to our arm wrestling family over here that makes these tools and devices that we use.
Oh, I'm gonna say about 90% of my stuff is by Arm Assassin Strength Shop, by Lucas Raymond, which is my table, my pulley system, all my handles, every which way you can think of the train. I have a handle for him for that from him. Some Mazarenko stuff from Silarukov, like over in like Poland, Russia, that area. But honestly, for the price, I'll vouch for Arm Assassin. It gets the job done, and it's a quarter of the price. So I was lucky enough to have him as a friend and meet him and look at the stuff and see it when at tournaments. He has tables. You can actually hold it in your hands. So that's a big plus for us guys here in PA. We actually get to see what it is and see it. Does this fit my hand, or how would I use this? And they'll show you right there in person.
Right.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's really cool.
That's great. Now, you mentioned like you wanting to cut down weight. Do you have like some weight loss goals, and what are you doing to lose weight? Are you do you have like a routine or like a style of training you use to lose weight?
Weight loss is going to be gradual, but it kind of happens when it happens. I don't have a time goal because I don't have a specific competition coming up.
Right.
But I'm very good at cutting weight just because that's my body can gain and cut weight relatively fast. Personally, I've been doing a carnivore diet. And this isn't a dig at vegan. I just thought it would be something to try. And it's pretty much not all meat, but it's meat-based, animal product-based, no carbs, very high fat. I did this a couple months ago, right before the match with Walker. I dropped like 32 pounds in like 6 weeks. It's almost like too much weight, but it wasn't bad weight. It was just so fast. I do that now, but I'll do like a little bit of carb cycling, small amounts of carbs, maybe on the weekend, but then I go right back to it during the week. So for me, it's not processed food. That's what I'm gonna say is cutting the weight. No sugar, no processed food, everything you make.
Yeah. What's the trend like carnivore? Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
What's the difference between like carnivore and keto, like in your eyes?
Carnivore is keto, but
Okay.
you're limiting yourself to non-processed foods, which is really what's bad for you is processed foods. Keto, you can eat as much processed food if it fits your carb goals.
Gotcha.
So you can have a lot more leniency with that, which is good, but for me, I like the fact that I can just look in my fridge and there's 4 things to eat and I know that's all I can eat. But you make it work, and after about a week or 2 you adjust, and it's to me it's a pretty long-term thing you can do. But you can also break it on a weekend. You want to go out, you do it you do it, you cheat meal. So you're not like, it's not a moral thing as people like to do vegetarian and stuff like that. It's easy to do for me, and especially if you like eating meat, red meat, steak, all that. It's great because you can eat all that good stuff.
Now, as someone who is in multiple strength sports, would you say meat is a necessary thing to ingest in order to get stronger? Or like, how do you feel about people that, are just all vegan or vegetarian?
I would say in a strength sport, meat in general, and that's including not just steak for red meat, but chicken, fish, all that. I would say yes, only because without it, I wanted to see you, and without being processed, like a vegetarian meat or whatever. Show me something that has the profile of a piece of steak with the amount of calories and fat and nutrients that you can get without having to eat 6 pounds of something. So to me, it's more about the availability of nutrients. Trying to replace that in your diet is almost impossible unless you're going to be eating 12 times a day, which some people do it. But you can almost tell when the guys don't eat meat, don't eat certain things. There's almost a difference in the build and just in general the overall strength.
Yeah.
Well, kind of to be devil's advocate, what do you say to the people that say with the cholesterol and some of the long-term side effects of eating a lot of red meat, or because the doctors would always tell you, you stick with your chickens and your fishes, don't eat red meat. What do you say to that?
I say that everyone's view is skewed by what an average person does.
Okay.
The average person who eats red meat isn't eating red meat like I am, and what I'm saying that I would do. They're eating McDonald's, Burger King, and Steakums and burritos.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm doing. So that is where the cholesterol comes from. That is where the craziness that you can't have eggs because cholesterol's high. These are people who are having processed foods that are still considered meat and animal products. So no, I could say if you lived off the land and ate everything you hunted, you'd be extremely healthy, and you would not have high cholesterol, and you wouldn't be considered in that range of people who eat too much red meat.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's good to kind of put things in perspective for people that question, is this way of eating healthy? I think maybe at the end of the day, it's more about like body weight too. Like if you're carrying around a lot of body weight, whether it be a lot of muscle or a lot of fat, that's still going to be hard on your heart and all that stuff in general.
Oh, your heart doesn't know if you're 300 pounds of muscle, 300 pounds of fat. Your joints, same thing.
Yeah.
They don't know the difference. And that's kind of my reasoning. At 5'10", I've been floating around 260, 270 for a while. That's a lot of weight for my frame.
Now, you said you were like a bodybuilder back in the day. Like, what was your bodybuilder diet versus what you're doing now?
It was essentially the same thing, but I depended a lot more on fish. You go for the stuff that has fish and chicken versus like stuff like now that have like bacon, pork product, red meat, hamburgers without the bun, obviously. I would go for the lower fat, lower calorie, which honestly was a mistake in my eyes. I wish I would have not done that because it beats on your body so much more when you're doing cardio and trying to kill yourself on all your working out and then you're eating less. I wish I would have done the opposite, what I'm doing now, and ate more nutritious foods and denser foods. So in hindsight, I wish I would have been more educated on that to to not believe that red meat's bad for you, because, you know, I was in the same boat when I was 16, 17, getting in all that.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to add, Chuck, to that?
Yeah. Okay. So like you were talking about like a cheat meal or something like that. What's like a good cheat meal for you? What's like your go-to there?
Well, personally, last night I bought a happy birthday ice cream cake, and I ate pretty much the whole thing in one sitting.
Nice. I've done
That
that.
was a little bit odd, and I bought it at like 9 o'clock at night for no reason other than I wanted it. But for me, when I'm craving the carbs, I don't so much crave salt, because I eat a lot of salt in my diet, because sodium is not bad for you. It's really not. If you work out and you drink water, you're supposed to have a lot of sodium. If you don't have sodium, you're not going to be able to, work out as hard as you want. So for me, it's not so much a salty. I'm going with something like a nice pizza or cheesesteak, but it's really more bread. I feel like that's my weakness. I want stuff that has, a stromboli, something Italian, or pasta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The sweets, not so much. Just last night, for some reason, you just get that craving.
Has anybody ever here tried to eat one serving of pasta? Have you looked at what one serving of pasta actually looks like?
What is
it's
it?
incredible how much they assume you're going to eat that. No.
Or one serving of cereal? Like,
Dude, I don't eat one serving of anything.
yeah, you realize you get like 4 servings of pasta.
And not to get too much into it, but like all 4 of us are not normal sized guys, and we're not normal activity. They base that off of average Joe who's 180 pounds and not doing shit. So that's also why that serving exists.
Yeah.
Yeah, my only thing is, like, listen, if you're going to put 2 Pop-Tarts in one sleeve, 1 Pop-Tart should not be a serving size.
Right. I agree.
that's all I got to say.
It's just teasing you.
Like Oreos should be per sleeve. I want the calories per sleeve.
Yeah. Right.
You don't walk away with less than 6 Oreos in your plate.
Who's eating 2? Who's eating 2 Oreos? Show me that.
Like 110-pound girls are eating like 2 Oreos.
Maybe.
Yeah, who's opening a bag of chips and taking out 6 potato chips
Right.
and closing the bag?
Yeah.
See, I think it's more willpower to eat a serving of something or less of something than just to not eat it at all.
Dude, even drinks, you buy a drink and it's 2 servings.
Yeah.
That's because when you look at the calorie count, half the people in the world do not look serving size too. They just look, 100 calories, 10 grams of sugar.
Yeah.
Everything is read twice about it.
Right.
That's how they.
Yeah, and they're drinking double and they don't realize it.
Right.
But like calorie count is like so skewed, because like even you look at like a Pam like spray or something like that, and like it's like 0 calories for like 1/8 of a second spray. But like when you coat the whole pan, it's a few calories there. It's not 0 calories.
Right.
And it's like these companies, like the way they market their calorie servings and it's just a scam. I mean,
there's some good YouTube documentaries that explain all that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, they don't have to really be honest either. It says it right on it. Like they can lie from the FDA. They don't have to actually. They can lie a little bit on everything. It's kind of a known thing.
There's like a percentage. You can lie this much, which is awful.
Well, like, do you remember when like protein spiking was a big thing?
Oh, yeah.
Like amino spiking? Like that's kind of scary that they got away with it for that long.
Oh yeah. And people are still doing it. They're just more careful.
Like, if anybody doesn't know what amino spiking is that we're referring to, it's basically they're putting free form, cheap amino acids into like a protein serving, like a protein powder, and calling it a full serving. So you're thinking you're getting 25 grams of actual protein, but you're really getting like 15 grams of protein and 10 grams of cheap amino acids that don't actually equal a protein serving. And they called it, amino spiking. It ups the count when they do that, like a test to see how much protein is in the product.
And because
it's
it
kind of scary.
Food, it's totally different. They can get away with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Want to go into the rapid fire?
Yeah. Let's do it.
So we're gonna do some rapid fire questions and just kind of shoot them at you quick and just say whatever first comes to mind.
Yeah, why don't Ryan? Why don't you handle the whole rapid fire?
The whole rapid fire?
The whole rapid fire. I think you got it. I think you could. Big.
All right. First question: hook, top roll, press, or other?
Hook.
King's move, yes or no?
No.
Table time or weights?
Table time.
Would you beat Johnny Blades in a super match?
Well, let me think about this. Just let me.
It's got to be quick.
It's quick. It's rapid fire, bro. Yes or no?
In hand. I'm gonna give his chance approximately 0.
That's a no.
Frequency of arm wrestling training?
Once per week. I would say, yeah.
Super match or tournament format?
Super match.
Percent strength or percent of strength to technique?
Technique.
Percent. What's your percent?
What's your percent? You
Like,
think of you strength to
60,
technique?
40, you know, like.
I'm sorry, I missed that, Josh. You cut out.
So what's your like percent? Like you need like 60% technique, 40% strength. Like, you know, what's more important? Kind of if you were to percent it out.
Okay. I'm gonna be that guy and say 50-50 because
50.
you can't have one without the other.
Okay.
Strength beats technique, but if you don't have strength, you can't use technique. That's
Cool.
Okay. Max deadlift?
685.
Okay. Is Chuck Bardo a father figure to you?
No.
Favorite arm wrestler?
Neil Pickup.
That's it for the rapid fire.
You answered that last question very wrong.
Yeah. Number 9 was wrong. And 10.
So what makes Neil your favorite?
When I was first getting into it, I honestly liked his commentating the most. That got me into the sport because it was fun to listen to him.
Yeah.
And then it got me watching his matches, and just overall, like just the way he pulled, it was something that it was different. It wasn't necessarily like the most technical guy, but I just always thought it got me into it because it was interesting and it was exciting. So I just kind of had more of a, my first view was through him and obviously Devin Larratt, but more so it was hearing Neil pick up just kind of made me think, oh, who's this guy? I never knew he was an arm wrestler until like a couple weeks after that. But
Really? Yeah, I can tell you base your technique off of Neil's, because you're high with a fast hit.
But honestly, I hated watching him arm wrestle because some other guy was doing the commentary and it wasn't good. So I wish he could do his own because he's who everyone likes to listen to. So when he's on the table, you can't listen to him. That's the only down part.
Yeah.
Yeah, Neil can make basically anything sound interesting when he talks about it.
Well, another guy, Jake Ward.
Yeah.
I know everyone. He's popular now, the Aussie arm wrestler.
Yeah.
He's another one that I love watching his stuff with all the different arm wrestling matches, and he does it for a lot of stuff. But he's getting into arm now, so I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. We had him on the podcast. It was great.
Yeah, I saw it. That was good.
Yeah.
He's a good guy.
He's good. He carried the show for sure.
Oh, with you on it, absolutely.
Oh, he's such a good talker, just smooth and just made it a good show.
Sport.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I think what this podcast needs is a little bit more of accents,
Hello. I got me index finger caught in me bum.
We just needed a permanent accent specialist on here.
Yeah.
Makes things sound more interesting. English preferably. Australian is second win.
Dan speaks 3 languages.
No, that is not true.
So we got some wrap-up questions for you. And do you have any goals for the future or any like tournaments you're looking to compete in coming up?
It's hard to say at the time what's going to be all available for us.
Yeah.
Most recently, I know Zach made his Shit Talkers 3 tournament.
Yep.
You going to that?
Definitely in the works, but a little bit more, mid-year to end of the year. Whenever Keystones ends up being, that's going to be the one I really, go for. And I'd like to cut some weight. And, my goal is this year to do pro on the 236 class and place in the top 3 at least 2 tournaments. That's going to be year goal. End of the year, I'd like to have completed that. If not, go to Keystones especially, and that's the one I'm really going to be gunning for. But who knows what's going on with anything coming up? It's hard to say. But no matter what tournaments or not, they don't have to be huge tournaments. I just want to get a couple wins this year in the pro class only.
Nice. Yeah, it's hard with COVID.
Yeah. Chuck, do you have anything to add that you want to ask your buddy?
Oh yeah. Well, and what about like just matches? You have matches coming up, like just even if it's just a fun get together match.
Oh, like a challenge match.
Yeah.
I want to pull Adam Culver. We were gonna do it at Zach's, and then that ended up getting messed up a little bit. But I would say him, and I'd like to go against Roger Bailey, because he's been beating guys now, and I want to see how I stack up against him. And he cut some weight recently too, so I may see him in a tournament. But yeah, those two, and maybe like Pedro Rodriguez, just because he's one of the guys that beat me when I first came in, along with Adam. He was my first actual match ever on a table. So it's been, it'll be almost going 3 years now. So it'd be nice to pull them, having been almost 3 years ago.
That's cool.
And now you said you were a numbers guy, like with you're tracking all your stuff at the whiteboard. Like, what are your goals with that? Like, where are you at right now? Like, do you have any lifts that, like, any vectors that you're really like tracking and you have goals for?
Well, for me, I do just straight, really. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I just have like the single pulley on the table, so I can do just about every angle. Right now, obviously, with the back pressure lifts. For me, it's not so much side pressure. I don't really, it has its place, but I like to do a straight back down pressure drag with like a belt.
Okay.
I do just there and straight up. Those are the 2 starting positions I like to train, just because if you can't get past there, I feel like it's not worth training all your other spots if you can't at least get in the match off the go.
What are your numbers for this single pulley system? Just for people to kind of compare.
As for mine, I did the strap. I did the back pressure. I think I ended up being at like 100 or 105 at just the straight, just straight up pressure.
Okay,
the down pressure with a belt, I think I'm doing around the same 95 pounds, I believe, was when it's just the straight drag back. Nothing, not moving much. I'm maybe moving from the front of the pad to the back of the pad, but I'm still playing around with some angles and seeing what's the best way to train it. But I'm not trying to be going too heavy, and I see a lot of guys getting hurt doing stuff like that. I'm just trying to stay healthy, because that's the hardest part about being committed in the gym is kind of backing off the arm wrestling, and vice versa, the weightlifting. Because when I have practice, I'm beat all the time, and it's just hard to do both and really be committed.
Right. Yeah. Well, Dan, I want to say thanks for coming on, because we're not the biggest podcast around. We're just the best.
But didn't matter.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate your time and everything. And Chuck, you too. Thanks for coming on and co-hosting with us tonight.
No problem.
Josh, always a pleasure.
It was a pleasure.
But yeah, well, we'd love to have you on again sometime, you know, and go over like, you know, whether you met some of these goals this year in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime you guys are on, I see you guys on Facebook and on the chat. So we'll be keeping in touch.
And we'll link your Facebook and where people can find you below. We can add some stalkers to your list of friends.
There you go. And for anyone too asking, I'm not going to be pulling Johnny Blades coming up here at Zach Lee's tournament. I'm not doing it. So
Good decision. Good decision.
Looking on Facebook, it's not listed. Josh Vinikoor kind of stepped in as the adult and was like, "Hey, this is dumb. Don't do it. It's not good for either of you." So I got nothing to prove with it, and I sure as hell know he doesn't either. Whether he might, you know, he's the one that wanted it. I'm still saying no. So as Ryan has said, he posted the video with the band. I got scared and I backed out.
That's how it happens.
Well, you can put that on the record. I'm saying no. I'm not going to meet the challenge.
Well, we'll interview him and get his side.
Of course.
His side on it next. No. Well, thank you for putting that out there, and you know, that's probably the right decision, honestly.
I just figured both of us could save it for the tournament. We're both not in the same weight class by 100 pounds. Right. So save it for the day and have some fun pulling guys that you really should be, you know. Not that I'm anyone special, but you know, there is zero chance that he gets in the match. And that's based on just size and strength. It's just not a match that we should be pulling. Maybe in a practice, sure.
Yeah,
we're gonna go
for fun,
practice,
right?
Ref it, and we'll have some fun about it. Nothing too serious, but yeah, not on a platform that's gonna get hyped up and honestly waste times, and also during an event, you know, save your strength, have some fun, maybe after pulling or something, you know.
Yeah. Good decision. Well, thanks for coming on, man. And like I said, you know, we'll put some links to you so that people can follow you if they want. And
cool. All right. Great.
All right, man.
All right, brother. It was a pleasure.
Yeah.
All right. See ya. Thank you.